Hi, here's Julie for a new episode. I hope you are all well. I'm so happy to be with you here today. And today I would like to share more about the wound of abandonment. And why I would like to talk about this today, simply because the wound of abandonment can create different pattern in life. And one of the pattern that is one of the biggest one, I would say, is the feeling of um, feeling like you're missing some things, that you always have to fulfill yourself or search outside of yourself for fulfillment. And so this can simply be by being reassured by somebody you love. It's like always second guessing yourself, always needing to have the advice of somebody else because you cannot make your decision. It also can appear with the feeling of always needing to please others. So a lot of you will be probably quite familiar with people pleasing. And why people pleasing is a big one. It's because when you have been abandoned or rejected, there is this feeling of not being loved. There is this deep wound of I have been abandoned or rejected because I'm not worthy, not lovable. And so, therefore, there is this need of always pleasing others and putting other before yourself because you feel that you're going to be loved doing that. And that if you actually don't put other before yourself, you won't receive anything in return. So it's quite a big one in life. And I know a lot of you are probably quite familiar to those patterns, and sometimes you're unsure why they appear in your life. Another one that I would like to talk about that is really never talked about is the twin loss. So there is about 10% of the population who have born with an unknown twin or triplet. And what does that mean? It means that the sibling has been, died in the womb of the mother. So the mother might not know about it, the doctor might not know about it. It could have been an early loss. It can be also, I know this might sound very crazy to you, but actually the embryo can absorb it. So there is different ways. It's things we don't talk about it. We don't talk about. And why I want to talk about it is because a lot of people don't understand where these feelings are coming from. And yes, it could be from a past life as well, or it could be done on the lineage. But there is this one that I see a lot. Is very particular. It's like always the feeling like you're searching for some things, you're missing some things within you. And this is often when there was a twin in the womb. And it's quite interesting because as a practitioner, every time I have felt that with a client, they could confirm they had one, or we go into the subconscious and recall the birth and feel if there was somebody in or not. And so, somebody, another being, their sibling next to themselves, and what exactly happened. And so it's very interesting because if you think about this, the first things that you have seen as a twin is your brother or your sister passing next to you. And with this form the feeling of why them and not me. And then what happened, and all of that happened on a subconscious level. Then what happened is that the first things you see in life is someone who have passed. So there is something quite dark about it already. And also the feeling like, could I have saved them? Why are they passing and not me? How can I actually live with that on my shoulder? So there is guilt. There is then this feeling that you have to live up to the being that has passed. It's again mean that there is this abandonment wound because you feel abandoned at that moment. You were supposed to be 2 or 3 coming at one, and then they left you. So you feel alone and you feel unloved and you don't understand why they left you there. And at the same time, you have the guilt that that should not have been you leaving, but them. I know it's a big concept, but I wanted to talk about it because this is something that myself I have experienced, and it's quite interesting because I always forget about it. I always forget about it, and because it's something that has not been tangible, but my mother had all the sign also to be with twin. And so our doctor was like, you either um, pregnant since 3 months, or you are having twin. And so then we didn't talk about it more. And then I discovered that yes, I was part of a triplet and they both passed. And so it was very interesting dealing with that because I could always feel I had them around me, and I could always feel this presence and this feeling that I needed to work through life for them, but also feeling like there is something bigger. Like I was talking to you in my third episode about the duality within. This can also be part of the duality. It can be part of not being able to make decision, feeling unlovable, feeling that you have to be the perfection. You have to live up to them because they haven't survived. But all of that is on a subconscious level. Of course, it's not always the case. It's not always because of a twin loss. It can be for many of other reasons. Um, but this is one of the big one we never talked about. We never talk about it, and it's really real. And I can tell you, when you touch on this subject, when you start to understand this, it really changed your life. So I want to give you a few examples about this because I think it's important. So for example, you always buy for 2. You always buy 2 or 3 things of the same things. Um, you have you can have body dysmorphia. And why is that? Is because in the womb you were not just one, you were 2 or 3, and so therefore the what you see in the mirror is not the representation of how you feel. And this is quite interesting as well. So there is there is traits, there can be hatred over yourself, and you don't understand, or this deep suffering, or feeling like you can't leave, or like you want to but can't, because something is always pulling you back in a certain place. And this can be the attachment to the twin who have passed. And the connection between twin, it's huge. You feel, so even if they have passed, there is still that connection that link you to them, which can then always keep you almost, in the shadow or in the darkness of yourself. So I feel, it's quite interesting to be aware of that. And I feel you might recognize yourself into those patterns. There is so many more, I mean, it's quite interesting how much. And I know they can relate to so many other things, but there is trait that you can already bypass. Like, for example, when you do a present, you never do one present. You always add many, you always have to have many. It's like you give not just to one person, you give to two or three people, three beings. So yes, so it's quite interesting to dive into that. But anyway, coming back to the this energy of missing some things and being in life and feeling that there is like a void within yourself that you feel you have to fulfill. Often you're searching that in others. And again, if you have been a twin, you're always searching for your twin. But if you have been through the rejection or the abandonment, and abandonment is, like I said in the previous episode, it can be, a parents not being there at the birth, at your birth. It can be like the separation. It can be just some things that was said, the feeling. Maybe one of the parents were not ready. They were very stressed about having a kid, and so already as a fetus, uh, the you already were like, well, I'm not welcome. I'm not. Yeah, my parents are not looking for me to arrive. It's so interesting because I work a lot on birth regression, and it's so interesting when we go back, the fetus, the embryo, at every stage, you can feel everything already. You hear everything, you know what's happening, you know the stress, and you pick up on all of that subconsciously. So already at that moment, you are wired to take on conditioning that are going to be your day-to-day life and how you are going to actually act and be in life itself. So it's very interesting how even the small things, one thing that might have been said in a conversation in your presence in the womb of your mother, how that can actually change your whole life. So again, this wound of abandonment, they can really happen with the smallest things. And sometimes I'm amazed by what we find when we go in regression and connect to the subconscious and go back into this moment, and what comes up is just incredible. And then, what I do in a consultation is that I support the person to shift the belief that has been put in place to what is real. So reality come back, and then again, the perception of the external world and your life, they change because you have gone and actually rectify what happened during the gestation time and also at birth. There is so many traumatic births up there, that when you go through it and how you have been received, who received you, what was the energy that the person was holding when having you in their hand. I can give you an example, and that's my journey when I was born. I was a couple of months old. I was put in the arm of the mother of my godfather. He was 15 at the time, and his mom was passing. And like it's about 5 years ago, I remembered exactly what I felt when she took me in her arm. I felt all her pain because she knew she was going to actually leave her babies, her kids, her two kids, and how much she was so sad about that because she was so young. And I took on all of that, and it's quite interesting because I'm still working through that, but I always have had some things with cancer, and of course, she was passing of cancer. And, I have to actually go through my deep subconscious mind and past life to really understand what is the link to that, and especially, there is always an image that comes, so it's linked to many things, it's not just that. But as a baby, I took on this fear, and it was linked from her passing from cancer, and so you don't know how someone is going to register some things in there. I'm hearing straight away DNA, subconscious, and what they're going to hold. And I was already a highly sensitive being. But when we are babies until 7 years old, we have that perception. We feel beyond the conditioning, so we are open to the mystical, we are open to the intangible. And so we we just are that sponge. And always already, because I was an empath, I have been an empath all my life. I took on her pain, so anyway, it's just one of the example that I feel is so interesting, because I feel this podcast, I want to share my life story. And I know it's going to come in many ways as I'm channeling it. um, but yeah, it's so interesting. And so why the title of this podcast is Dance the Sound of Your Soul is that there is no one way, and your soul came here to experience, to evolve. So it is a dance. It doesn't need to be scary. Of course, it's we need to go beyond the veil, beyond the analytic mind, to understand everything that actually we have taken as being, from things that have been unresolved on our lineage, from past life that have been maybe traumatic. What have we not worked through? And so as we awaken and connect to that part of ourselves, we are able to really work through. Well, it's quite interesting. I'm hearing the inimaginable, oh, I cannot say that word, sorry. Um, some things that you will never have predicted. And that is quite incredible. And it's why I love my work so much. And I will not say it's not even a work, it's really yes, what I praise, I love taking people on that journey. I know it's challenging, because I'm doing it myself. So I know how hard this is. But the things is the most rewarding path, because you get to really unleash yourself and break the chain uh, of what has always been. And of course, it feels like often you are the black sheep, of maybe your family, or where, that you feel like, oh, it's hard to belong to a place because I'm connected to such almost another world or many other realm. But at the same time, it gives you a perspective on life and on yourself and what you have gone through to another level. And it's actually opening so many doors, because that's the things why in the beginning you started to go and want to dive in, is because in your life you could see patterns repeating, you could see things not moving, you could feel stuck in certain situation, or always having the same experience, same sort of people, or maybe you had like an illness, and you tried everything, and then you decided to go all the way and giving yourself that chance to actually go deeper and to find another way to understand where it was coming from. Because to me anyway, you believe or not in this, but my core belief is that anything that hasn't been processed, like we say, a trauma, a past life, an emotion, whatever it is, that hasn't been understood, processed, or seen truly for what it is, creates energetic blockage, which then lead to illness, and in French, when you think about it, maladie, illness, maladie mean the pain have said, so the body talk. And so your body is your deepest signal to tell you what has been happening. And so for me, it started very young. I always have had symptom. I had injuries. I had so much pain in my body, and I yeah, I had to actually understand. And my soul journey has been that understanding where this pain were coming from, what was it, and that's how it opened all of it for me. And I feel it's my soul that guided me into all of that because, like I said in all of my previous episode, I wanted to be a dancer. That's all I had in my mind. I never thought I would be a therapist. I never thought I will go on to this crazy journey of I say crazy. Yes, because for some people it can sound crazy, and I will share probably things that you will be like, oh, okay, I have no idea what you're talking about. But the things that is my reality, and I know it's the reality of many people. And a lot of people maybe are scared to talk about that. And again, why scared to talk about it is because of the past life experienced. So yes, so I feel this episode was quite beautiful on understanding, why we can have abandonment wound. And then I guess what I would like you to reflect on is if the answer is not to give other, how can I start to give myself what I need to fulfill this void within me? Not with the love of others, not by depriving or sacrificing myself for the sake of getting love from others, but how can I start to look within? Because that is the first step, is looking within that void and not being scared of it, because often people are so scared of that void, of that feeling. But again, already looking at it, it's starting to acknowledge it and it's starting to put your attention on it. And that's already starting to nurture it. And not nurturing the pain, but seeing it for what it truly is. So today I shared a few reasons why this could be there. But again, if you want to know, start to look within. And if you want some support, you know that I'm here for you. And I love, 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 love so much taking people on this journey. And because it's so empowering, really empowering. So I hope this episode will have ignite some things in you again. And again, I never know where these episodes are going. I feel something's within me, and today I felt that, and I have been working on it, but I felt that I was in this, I was feeling this pain of abandonment and needing to be fulfilled by external recognition or validation. And I recognized that pattern. So I could sit with it and be like, okay, I'm going to talk about this because this is something I know a lot of people are feeling. And so it's so beautiful to be able to share my life journey, because it's something I have had on my heart for a long time. But I guess, like I was saying in my second episode, often I need to process everything before I share it. But with this podcast, what is beautiful and the fact that, at the moment I am alone, it's that this is a chance for me to actually talk to you through what I'm going through and how I have been helping people going through it as well. And again, doesn't matter how much experience I have in it. It doesn't mean I sometimes don't feel it again, because this is things I have been working on it. And it doesn't mean I'm going backward. It's mean it's another layer that is ready to be shown and to be nurtured and to be loved. So yeah. Anyway, I'm sending you so much love, and I will see you soon in another episode. You take good care of yourself. Bye.